investment, and that's billions because it can't be millions, it's billions and billions of dollars. Most importantly, this decision will help America defend and dominate the high frontier, as they call it. I want to thank Secretary Pete Hegseth. He's doing a fantastic job. And Secretary of the Air Force Troy Mink. Troy, thank you very much. Great job you're doing, Troy. This is such a big deal. This is one that everybody wanted to know. What are you doing? I also want to thank Senators Katie Britt, and I want to give my condolences. Your grandmother, her grandmother just passed away. She was 100, right?
100, and she loves you, Mr. President.
Well, and she was very proud of you.
Thank you very much.
Very, very proud of you. So thank you, Katie.
Wonderful woman.
She must have been. To produce you indirectly, I can tell you she had to be. Tommy Tuberville, who's a great coach, and I won't say anything about what happened with Alabama football this weekend.
Let's leave that out.
But you're not used to that, right? You're not used to that. But Tommy, Auburn won, that's right. They did. So you're happy. Tommy's been a great senator, as you know, and a fantastic guy all around. He was also a tremendous coach. House Armed Services Committee Chair Mike Rogers. Thank you, Mike. Where's Mike? Mike, thank you very much. Doing great, Mike. Representatives Barry Moore, all great friends, Robert Adderholt, Gary Palmer, and Dale Strong. Thank you all very much, fellas. Appreciate it. In my first term, I created a thing called Space Force, so important. You know, we were losing the race in space very badly to China and to Russia, and now we're far and away #1 in space, and reestablished Space Com with a mission to protect American space assets and detect any threat to our homeland. We initially selected Huntsville for the SpaceCom headquarters, yet those plans were wrongfully obstructed by the Biden administration. And as you know, they moved them to a different locale. And today we're moving forward with what we want to do and the place that we want to have this. And this will be there for hopefully hundreds of years. That's where it's going to be. I will say I want to thank Colorado. The problem I have with Colorado, one of the big problems, they do mail-in voting. They went to all mail-in voting. So they have automatically crooked elections. And we can't have that. When a state is for mail-in voting, that means they want dishonest elections because that's what that means. So that played a big factor also. In Huntsville, SpaceCom will play a key role in building the Golden Dome, as you know. That's going to be a big thing. Everybody wants to be a participant in it. Missile Defense Shield, we're going to be having a Golden Dome that the likes of which nobody's ever seen before. The finest, the best. And by the way, Canada called. They want to be a part of it, and that'll be great. But Canada wants very much to be included in that, and we're going to work something out with them, I hope. It will also ensure that our technological capabilities, of which we're way ahead of anybody else, there's nobody close, remain unmatched long into the future. So I'd like to ask Secretary Hegseth to say a few words. He was very much a part of it. And really, everybody behind me was. Every one of these people would call me and lobby me. I said, Katie, I don't want to talk to you anymore. I know what you want. She said, that's right, sir. That's what I want. And they got their way. So I just want to congratulate. These are really special people. They're politicians in many ways, but they're great patriots, I think even more so than politicians. So they fought very hard to get it, and it's an honor to give it to Huntsville. Pete, say a few words, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. As usual, right place, right time, for the right reason. In your first administration, you established the Space Force at a time when we knew we had to be looking to that domain of space. You also reestablished SpaceCom to ensure that priority was put in place, and you, through the Air Force, independently identified that Huntsville, Alabama was the right place to put it. For other reasons, in the next administration under Biden, they decided to move it somewhere else. Well, during that time, the DoD Inspector General, the Government Affairs Office, they did their own assessments, and where did they say SpaceCom should go? Huntsville, Alabama. So what you're doing today, Mr. President, is restoring it to precisely where it should be based on what the Space Force, the Air Force, your leadership believes will give us strategic advantage in the future. That is Huntsville, Alabama. We are way ahead in space, but this will ensure we stay leaps and bounds ahead because that's the most important domain. Whoever controls the skies will control the future of warfare. And Mr. President, today you're ensuring that happens. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Katie, would you like to say something?
Mr. President, we are grateful for your leadership on this and restoring Space Command to its rightful home in Huntsville, Alabama. This delegation has worked together, both chambers, both parties, to make sure that Huntsville was the place that Space Command called home. As was mentioned, obviously the Biden
He is definitely medicated to shit right now. Leave a 1 in the chat if you think this motherfucker is medicated beyond measure.
first, and we want to make sure that America continues to lead. And today, Mr. President, you've allowed that to happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tommy, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. This is a great day for our country, not just for our state of Alabama. We need help in our military. We need to catch up. And as Secretary Hegseth said,
This is crazy. This is crazy.
space, but we know where we're at, and we need to expound on that. Now, this move will save the taxpayers $480 million. It's not going to cost more. It's going to cut $480 million. We have the plans intact. It'll be behind a secure wall.
No, this is not press conference worthy. You're right. They're literally doing this because of the pressure we've put on them to get answers about where the president is. And clearly, I mean, I'll play you audio after this of the president doing an interview over the weekend. Something clearly happened.
Again, I've spoke with the president for the last 3 or 4 years about this. If I thought it needed to go somewhere else because I understand the security of our country, I'd be for that. But the best place for Space Command is Huntsville, Alabama, because what we have and what it means to this country is going to be so important. So thank you, Mr. President, for this, and we look forward to building a huge
The
Space
hair is
Command
crazy.
and having the Donald J. Trump Space Command Center in Huntsville, Alabama. Yeah.
JD, would you like to say something?
Sure. Well, Mr. President, thank you. I'll be very brief here. I lobbied the president hard to put it in Ohio, but he said these people behind us, these Alabamas, are just too powerful and too persuasive. And so it's in Alabama, but as Tommy said, this is exactly the right place for Space Force and Space Command. I think Americans ought to appreciate the fact that you can't win the battle of the future unless you control the skies. The cyber security, the communications, the entire infrastructure of the battle in the 21st century will be in space. So it was a visionary move in the first administration for the president to set up Space Force, and I think an equal...
Barely there. Barely there. Not a thought to be had. Just high out of his
You
mind.
want to say anything? Would you like to say?
Mr. President, another
Loopy. He's
promise
loopy.
made, another promise kept. You think about it, Redstone Arsenal is critical to national security. The president said when you were the 45th president, let's do what's right for national security. And today, that's exactly what we're doing. It's not because of this or that. It's because it's right for national security.
What was that?
You think of the 21 categories that were evaluated to determine what was best for national security. All indicators pointed back to Huntsville, Alabama, and Redstone Arsenal. We have the right people at the right place at the right time. Mr. President, on behalf of the people of the 5th Congressional District and all of Alabama, thank you for keeping your word. Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Anybody?
Let me just say, Mr. President, I want to say thank you. And thank you for doing this because it was the right thing to do. When they looked at all the numbers, Huntsville was the place to go. And like you say, it was unfortunately pulled out, but you made it right. So I want to just say thank you again for a grateful nation, and to the state of Alabama, we're very grateful. Thank you and God bless. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Throughout history, militaries has always understood that whoever could hold the high ground held the advantage. Space is the ultimate high ground. And what we're doing with moving the Space Command to Huntsville is absolutely critical to our maintaining dominance in that sphere. And it goes hand in hand with what we're trying to do with the Golden Dome and missile defense, to defend against anyone else who tries to enter that sphere. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Please.
Thank you, Mr. President. And obviously, national defense is a huge issue. And when you look at the scores, Alabama was #1. And for political reasons, it was moved out of our state. But, Mr. President, thank you for making priorities the defense and the warfighter and the safety of this nation. And in the big, beautiful bill, that Golden Dome will be built in Huntsville, Alabama, and we're grateful for that. Thank you.
Listen, as chairman of the Armed Services Committee, I care very much about what's most important for our national security. And the president held a nationwide competition to determine
Sleepy.
that competition, where Alabama came in first. There was a lot of complaints from the other states who did not place well.
See how his eyes are wandering and he keeps wanting to talk?
Your concerns. Alabama came in first in that second competition. His Secretary of the Air Force reviewed the results, said it was fair, and the president named Huntsville. It was the Biden administration that decided to make it political, even though his own Secretary of the Air Force said it was a fair competition and it should be in
Show his
Huntsville.
hands.
So I want you to know I appreciate this president standing up and being strong and saying he's going to make this right and put it where
Oh,
it
yeah,
rightfully
there's makeup
belongs,
on those
that's
hands.
Huntsville, Alabama.
Holy shit.
So thank you all very much. You are going to leave me alone now. You're not going to call me anymore and talk about this subject, right? You promise? They'll start something else. But I just want to congratulate you. It's a very big deal. When you come out and when you leave the room, you'll see that we just, over the last few minutes, literally shot out a boat, a drug-carrying boat, a lot of drugs in that boat. And you'll be seeing that and you'll be reading about that. It just happened moments ago, and our great general, head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who's been so incredible, including what took place in Iran, knocking out potential nuclear power for a long time to come. I think within a month they would have had it if we didn't do what we did. But he gave us a little bit of a briefing, and you'll see. And there's more where that came from. We have a lot of drugs pouring into our country, coming in for a long time.
Baby, you got a lot of drugs poured into that body.
And coming out very heavily from Venezuela. A lot of things are coming out of Venezuela. So we took it out, and you'll get to see that after this meeting is over. Do you have any questions, please?
Yes, questions. Oh, my God.
Senator Tuberville talked about the cost savings
Yeah.
associated with this announcement. Can you talk about the strategic benefits by having Space Force Command headquartered in Huntsville?
Well, it just works because we have so much else there. And having a central, you could call it a central command, but it really is a command station. Also, even locationally, where it is, and when you think about flying distances, if you can save a half an hour as fast as some of these planes go and things go, and even the rockets go, if you can save by having the best location. So we went out, as you know, to experts, and we had 4 different groups of experts. They all said this was the best location. I also loved it from the standpoint, I know the people of Alabama, they are great people, work hard, and there's no games, and they're very proud of it. And I would say they fought harder for it than anybody else also. A lot of states, 5 states really wanted it, but they wanted it more. And I kid you not when I say that these people, they spoke to me a lot. That's all they wanted to talk about. They didn't want to talk about the weather. They only wanted to talk about
He's
moving
medicated.
to this location, moving to Alabama, Huntsville in particular. So we're honored to do it. They really wanted it badly, and they got it. Peter?
President Trump, something completely different, but about a big viral social media trend over the weekend. How did you find out over the weekend that you were dead? You see that?
No.
People didn't see you for a couple days. 1.3 million user engagements as of Saturday morning about your demise.
Really?
You didn't see that?
You know, I have heard it's sort of crazy, but last week I did numerous news conferences, all successful. They went very well, like this is going very well. And then I didn't do any for 2 days, and they said, there must be something wrong with him. Biden wouldn't do them for months. You wouldn't see him. And nobody ever said there was ever anything wrong with him, and we know he wasn't in the greatest of shape. No, I heard that. I get reports. Now, you knew I did an interview that lasted for about an hour and a half with somebody, and everybody saw that was on one of your competitors. I did numerous shows and also did a number of truths, long truths, I think pretty poignant truths. No, I was very active over the weekend. They also knew I went out to visit some people at the club that I own, pretty nearby on the Potomac River. And no, I've been very active actually over the weekend. I didn't hear that one. That's pretty serious stuff.
I'm glad it's
Well, it's fake news. You know, it's just so fake. That's why the media has so little credibility. I knew they were saying, like,
Wow.
is he okay? How's he feeling?
can't
What's
believe
wrong?
they asked.
I said, I just left. And it's also sort of a longer weekend, you know, it's Labor Day weekend. So I would say a lot of people know I was very active this Labor Day. I had heard that, but I didn't hear it to that extent. Go ahead, Peter.
Something else. We know that this country has a huge problem with school shootings. You've said.
All right, so let's just break that down. We'll get back to it. But what they did was they knew this is a big issue. They handed that question to someone that they could trust that wanted to do a follow-up so he could address it. So they are trying to cover up their tracks here, but they gave that question to a friendly reporter so that he could answer that in the way that they wanted him to answer it, getting asked a question that they knew that he'd be asked. So that was very coordinated.
And then you can build the construction doors. You can build what they call safety doors, where they lock on the outside, the inside, watching it very closely. Last week, they lost 7.
Can you see me? Can you see me?
For no reason whatsoever. And they're Russian and they're Ukrainian, but, you know, they're soldiers. I want to see it end. Yeah.
Mr. President, have you decided you're definitely going to send National Guard troops to Chicago?
It was Russia. It was Russia.
Look, Chicago's very interesting because I watched Pritzker get up and say about, we don't need help, we're safe. But 2 weeks ago, they had 6 people murdered, and they had 24 people hit by bullets. Last week, as you know, it was 7 people, 24 people hit, and 7 people died. And then over the last 2 days, that was the crown jewel. They had, I guess, 9 or 10 killed, and 50 hit with bullets. And you have this governor get up, who's a terrible governor. Probably he and Gavin Newsom would be probably the 2 worst and most naive. They're naive. Either they're naive or they're very untruthful. And he'll say, we don't want any protection. We don't need. So in the last 3 weeks, he's lost almost 20 people killed. There's no place in the world, including you can go to Afghanistan, you can go to places that you would think of. They don't even come close to this. Chicago is a hellhole right now. Baltimore is a hellhole right now. Parts of Los Angeles are terrible. If we didn't put out the fires, and I mean the other fires, the bullet fires, they didn't do a good job with, they should have had the water coming down, like I said. You know, we had to release the water. We had to go in and release the water to L.A.
All right, well, I don't need to listen to propaganda from the propaganda president. Sorry that buffered. That's the first time ever on this computer. I love that it happened just then. It's like, it feels like something, it feels like, I mean, obviously, it's just bad luck, but of course it happened during an important news conference and when 11,000 people were watching. Let me just go to just me. Just me. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for watching. So the president is alive. He appears to be well. We will keep following this story because obviously the fact that the White House felt the need to hand that question to a reporter means that it is something that they have to pay attention to. And let it also be an example that we can put pressure on this president more so than certainly the legacy media, the corporate media, because they weren't asking anything about this. They weren't asking anything about this, and only because of you and because of folks who are in independent media that we were able to put up the pressure. We were able to share information on what we knew with the president and what is and isn't being said, and they felt the need to have to respond. Now, they should be releasing the health records of this president. Thank you for the $20, Travis. They're not doing that. We should put pressure on that because clearly, let's just go back to this. Let's go back to this. Clearly, there's something wrong with this man. There's clearly something wrong with this man. Oh my God. Wait, someone just gave 50 memberships? Holy shit. Can we just get a shout out to Peter in the chat for giving 50 memberships? Damn. W's to Peter in the chat. Thank you so much, Peter. Wow. Okay, well now I lost my train of thought, but thank you. So yeah, there is something going on with him. I'll just play this clip before we end here. Where is it? 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 Oh, here it is.
I'm very disappointed in him.
Now, this is over the weekend.
He and I always had a great relationship. I'm very disappointed. Thousands of people are dying. They're not Americans that are dying, but they're Russians and they're Ukrainians, and there's thousands, and it's a war that makes no sense. And it would have never started if I were president, and that's what bothers me even more, because the election was totally rigged, and it's a shame. We'll see what happens, but now.
So that does not sound like a healthy person, okay? So there is something going on. Clearly, they either injected him in something, or he got over it, or we don't know. We don't know what it was. But my hope is that investigative reporters will look into this. You know, I'm a political commentator. I'm not an investigative journalist. But I'm hoping the journalists who have that job actually do it rather than Jake Tapper, who waited, I don't know, what, years until release a book about something I guess he knew about. So maybe instead of releasing a book in 5 years to tell us what's happening today, you just do some reporting and tell us in a month or in a week. That'd be nice. That'd be nice. All right. Anyways, nice to hang out with you. It's great to be live with you. Thanks for being here. Sorry again for the moment where we lost internet on this stupid machine. But we will definitely... Oh, thank you for the $50 to FJ. FJW's in the chat for FJ. Thank you for the $50. And yeah, so we're going to keep following the story. I am going to... I'm going to go continue to do some work. But I will see you on YouTube. Thanks for being here. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. And ta-ta. Thank you. Thanks, Jonathan. Okay. Bye.